Hello and welcome everyone on our webinar, our joint webinar with TAUS, when you will learn more about the translation with artificial intelligence based on quality estimates. Before we start the session, let me just do some housekeeping and tell you some information about the webinar itself. The presentation will be around 45 minutes long, then we will have a 10-15 minutes Q&A session where our presenters will answer for your questions. Please make sure that you use the Q&A panel of the Zoom application, that you can find that there, and it's looks like this on the image. So let me now just go ahead, introduce our presenters for today. We have Anne-May van der Meer, who is the Director of Strategic Partnership at TAUS. We have Amir Kamran here, who is the Solution Architect for TAUS. And from memoQ side, we have one of our product managers, Adam Gaugetz, and one of our solution engineers, Jure Dernovšek, here to present today's to you. So without further ado, let me pass the mic to Adam.
Hi, everyone. I hope you hear me well.
Yep.
So let me just share my screen. So I'm Adam, one of the product managers at memoQ. Welcome, everyone. Today, we will talk about shortly about memoQ and how we see localization today and tomorrow. Then we will also have a short introduction from TAUS, and then we will jump into the technology we are going to explore in detail today, and that is the quality estimation, very interesting topic. And memoQ, as in the next session we will cover, is integrating TAUS services into our tool. We will cover that in depth in a webinar. And then we will also talk about our plans, how the solution will be completed in the upcoming releases of memoQ. And at the end, we will close with a Q&A section. In the meantime, please just feel free to take questions, as just Bente explained, and we will hopefully cover everything at the end. And let's go further and see what is memoQ about. memoQ is a great and robust tool for translation management. It's also a great tool for linguists working on translations. But today, it could be a little bit challenging to cover in detail all the features, especially in the advent of generative AI and large language models. All of these technologies that we use today could be questioned if they are good tomorrow as well. So I wouldn't even start getting into such predictions. And therefore, I would like to focus on some core values, some core pillars that we work with in memoQ, that we worked in the past, and what we believe that will be sufficient for us to keep this technology relevant and deliver values for localization and translation operations in the future as well. So first of all, memoQ is built on the people who are highly trained professionals, linguists, engineers, project managers striving for efficiency, who build systems for automations, and who are working for perfect linguistic outcome. They are working on multilingual content that can vary differently in terms of quality. These people are responsible for always be optimal on the quality, to cover everything what they are to do. And since resources are limited, they always have to optimize and do just as good as it is required for the given function that multilingual content is expecting them to do. This multilingual content can play different roles, as we will see later on in localization. It's not just the output, but it's also the input. So the technologies of yesterday and today are built on multilingual content. This is what makes terminology, translation memories, neural machine translations, but also LLMs great and useful tools for us. So the third pillar is definitely technology that assists people, technology that executes, invests volumes and repetitions, what can be repeated and what occurs in huge volumes, and it automates what technology is capable of. And we see that today it's more and more that is capable of. So it's not just translation anymore, what the current technology, the latest neural networks are able to do, but they are able to generate. So definitely we will see lots of new challenges, lots of new opportunities in our industry in the future, as we see it even today. And certainly we have to tackle them. We have to control this technology. We have to make the most out of it. So memoQ is in the past and today and in the future are coordinating, balancing, and integrating all these three pillars of localization. So let's go a bit closer to your day-to-day. Let's see what operational challenges you see in your day-to-day as a translation buyer or as a service provider or someone who is actually the linguist in the system, the linguist who is delivering high quality translation. So we see the challenge of ever-growing volumes of translations and quality. 99% of the translations around the world are already done by MT. It's not going through human translations. Definitely we see the top of the iceberg. Translations what today needs human assistance, human supervision. These are the translations that are valuable enough, critical enough for your business operations, for the outcomes. It is value, it is money, it is people's life who can turn on these translations. So we need human in the loop, expert in the loop when we work with these translations. But still, there are different tiers of quality, and that helps us to cope with this huge amount of content to be translated. We use tiers and we deliver always what is good enough, and we do our best and the best and the ultimate quality only for those translations where it is actually needed. So it is technology that helps us to do so in huge volumes, and it is the people who delivers the premium quality. What we see today is that technology is more and more capable of delivering more and more, higher and higher quality. Few people challenge the idea that this quality gap will be persistent. So today's technology is, because of the technology's inherent nature, it cannot be always predictable, always correct. We are lacking the liability behind. So there will be always a role for the people who are at the end of the day assuring that 100% of the translations are meeting the 100% ultimate quality that we need. So how does all this work? What enables this process? What makes technology so great as we see it today. That is data, actually. Neural networks are based on deep learning. Deep learning means they need data to get better and better today. That data helps us to be relevant for our specific domain, for our specific industry, for our specific brand. That's what makes the differentiation between two shoemakers. That is the brand, and technology has to know what makes it different, what language is unique to your own brand, what language is your industry speaking, and what makes you accurate in that. And technology, industry, brands are evolving, so we need constant flow of new data, relevant content, the new language for us, our business or our institutions, that is created by people, linguists, who are capable to do so. So at the end of the quality ladder, the premium quality is provided by the linguists, who are, on the other hand, looping back and feeding the technology that enables the technology to be efficient and help people with higher and higher quality translation, and assist the linguists to be more efficient for that quality tier that is the premium one. So today we are going to talk about a new technology, but certainly we will also cover the people and the content aspect of this triangle. And this new technology is the quality estimation by TAUS. And I would like to hand it over to Anime to continue.
Thank you, Adam. Well, hello, everyone. My name is indeed Annemai van der Meer. And before we dive into the topic of quality estimation, I wanted to share a little bit of background on TAUS, our company, for those of you who are not familiar with us. So TAUS was founded in 2005 as a think tank for the global translation localization industry. And our mission was really to evangelize machine translation. So we published many white papers, articles, reports, and we also organized events around the globe to get industry leaders together and talk about all the challenges we were facing in implementing MT, upholding quality standards, but of course also sharing the knowledge and experience on the solutions. And one of my favorite parts was showcasing all these latest innovations when it came to the tools that help us become more efficient and productive in making all this abundance of content available in all languages around the world. So it was through these events actually that TAUS came with the idea to start building our own services. We started an industry shared language data repository in 2008. Then we launched the dynamic quality framework metrics and dashboard in 2012, a data marketplace in 2020. And over the past few years, we've put together a really great suite of products and services related to data and enhancing machine translation and machine learning applications. So in 2008, we started that data repository along with 40 founding members. And our aim was to create collaboration within the industry, sharing data, all with the goal to make sure that every last human being on the planet would be able to get all the information available in their own native language. The repository grew enormously, and a few years ago, we started an endeavor to clean it. So we went from about 70 billion words back to 25 billion words in 600 plus language pairs, high quality data that we now use for our products and services. With an in-house NLP department, which is led by my colleague Amir, who will be speaking later. We have all the capabilities to clean and enhance the data, create synthetic data, crawl data, actually do all the data work to create those high quality domain-specific data sets that feed the models. And today we'll introduce and give you a bit more insights into one of, I think, the most sought after services in our industry at the moment, quality estimation. We're seeing that many more companies have now adopted MT and have integrated with CAT tools, TMS tools to set up perfect workflow that goes from MT to post-editor to publication. And every segment is looked at by a human before it's published. Time-consuming, expensive, especially with that vast amount of content that's waiting to be translated. So wouldn't it be amazing if you could have some insights into which segments actually need to be looked at and need to be corrected, saving you time and money? And what about finding out which MT engine actually puts out the best quality? This way you can decide which engine you choose for which language and which domain. So quality estimation is the answer here. With the help of our many years of experience in this data work, we're so excited to have launched the quality estimation service, and even more excited about having this integration with memoQ and talking a little bit more about it today. So to give you all the technical details about what it is and how it works, I'd now like to give the floor to Amir.
Thanks, Anamai. Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Kamran. I'm the solution architect at TAUS, and I would like to take this opportunity to also thank memoQ team to collaborate with us and invite us to give this opportunity to present this product today. So I think Adam and Anamai already touched a few of the points. I will just quickly dive into the more technical details. So first, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? As Adam already mentioned, that the volumes of translation, which is now happening through machine translation, is becoming bigger and bigger. But there is still always a question whether this MT is reliable or not. And at what point we can say that, okay, we can publish something without a human intervention, or we need human in the loop all the time. And this is a very critical question, because although we are making significant improvements in the models, in the quality of MT every day, and there are different language pairs available now that can be readily used, but then there are low resource languages where the quality is questionable. But even for the high resource languages, big language MT providers, they are still making mistakes, which is part of the part of the AI models, that it can make mistakes. It's not 100%. So whether we can replace the humans, or whether we can make the process efficient for the humans to basically work with MT and bring them in the loop when it is necessary. And this way we can actually make the whole process efficient, because the kind of scenarios now emerging are very different, where real-time machine translation is needed. So post-editing is not really sufficient, not really efficient. And then there is like huge volumes and when the huge volumes are there, also post-editing is not feasible. It's too expensive sometimes. And also with volumes, you cannot really bring so many humans to always do the edits. So what is the solution? You need models that are automatic, that can actually give you some kind of indication when the translation is good enough, and you can actually directly go with that to the production. And when there are problems, when it is completely useless, when there are minor problems, and if you can come up with a score that can give you this indication, then you can do a lot of different things with this score. You can do your risk management. You can reduce the cost of post-editing by enabling post-editors to use this score to decide when to edit, when not to edit, which segments to give more attention to. So this score will be very similar to the kind of a score that the post-editors and translators are using for the matching of translation from translation memories, for example. So if we can generate a similar kind of a score for machine translation content, that would be really useful. And then this score can also be used to feed it back to the MT training scenario, where the models can be improved using this score, and also the feedback that is coming from post editors when they're saying, okay, this is good, and the score matches with their assessment. So you can do a lot with this kind of things. And then also for newer languages and newer domains, it's much easier to adapt an automatic model like this. So we can quickly adapt these models to train models that are dealing with newer languages, low resource languages, for example, and then that could also give us much more easier way to handle the content, the large volume of content. So whenever it comes to machine translation and we talk about evaluation, most people start talking about blue scores and other automatic metrics. There is a difference between estimation and evaluation, and I would like to highlight there that when we talk about evaluation, we are just talking about evaluation of the model. So whenever you are training a machine translation model, you want to know whether this model is better than the previous model, or it's making more mistakes, or is it very good. So there you actually need a reference set. So you already have a test set where the source and the translations are there. And then you verify whether the model that you are training is close to the translations that you already have. So this is the kind of scenario where the scope is limited, because you cannot really generate large data sets that can be used for evaluation. So your test sets should be small enough. And then you can just, based on this analysis, you can decide whether the model is better than the previous model and then is ready to go on production or not. This is called machine translation evaluation. And this is highly used when we are doing the trainings. But when it comes to estimation, we are not talking about just the model evaluation. We are talking about real-time scoring of each segment that is coming out of the system. And then this is used by post editors and others to basically do a lot of other works and other scenarios. And when we talk about estimation, we are just saying that this is the model which is based on linguistic features and other different AI features that can actually enable it to identify whether a source sentence is close to a translation or not. So there is no reference needed at all. We are just trying to figure out whether a translation is close to the source in meaning or not. So what we are doing in TAUS is nothing new. So we are not really inventing something completely new algorithm or completely new scheme of doing things. We are just using what is the current state-of-the-art industry algorithms and methods. We are using the same kind of approach, which is based on BERT and sentence embeddings. But the thing that we are focusing on, and as Anamai already pointed out, that TAUS is basically expert in data handling and data management, and we have a long history of collection of data and cleaning of data and working with the data. So we are trying to do the best what we can with the data that can train the best model that is already available out there. So we can take pre-trained models, we can add some of our data to make it better, and then we can also enhance that with further data from clients to fit the model according to the needs of the clients. Because quality is also something that is very particular in different scenarios. So different companies can have different standard of quality. In some cases, quality means that the meaning is just delivered perfectly. Maybe small minor grammatical mistakes are not that relevant for some clients, but for others, each and every minor detail is important. So for different quality aspects, you can train different models. And that's why it's important to work with the data and come up with the right set of sentences that can give you the best quality model. So what TAUS is doing is we are actually working with the data. We have, as Anamai mentioned, that a huge repository with a lot of languages and a lot of domains. We utilize that. But then now we also have the capability to generate synthetic data, which is very good in this scenario, because we can generate a lot of examples that are not in the data. So if the client is coming with a translation memory and they have a limited set of sentences, and more importantly, whenever someone is coming up with a translation memory, usually that's just good examples. So bad examples are not there. So we can generate the bad examples and generate the examples that are not good enough, completely wrong, inverted, and all those kind of scenarios. and then we can add that back to the data to train a model. But then we also need a mechanism to score things, because this kind of model training needs label data, not just segments. And then at that point, the TAUS HLP framework can also become handy, because TAUS has an in-house human language project where we have human annotators and labelers and human workers who can actually verify whether the labels that we're adding to the data is correct or not. And we can ask them to annotate the data as needed to train a model. So this is where we are putting more focus on to generate the best data set that can train the best model that fits your needs. So here I'm just trying to show what happened when you train a model according to this data. So in the first couple of examples on the top, it's coming out of a uncustomized version of quality estimation model. What we are trying to do is we are trying to see whether we can correctly classify different categories of sentence qualities rightly. But if you see that with a normal out-of-the-box model, it's not easy for the model to always do the right classification. So here 1 to 4 is the quality, where 4 is the best quality and 1 is the lowest quality. And we can see that the model is struggling to correctly classify the different segments properly. But as soon as we introduce the TAUS data and then we work on the data and do the labeling properly, the model is much better and perform above 80% accuracy, sometimes 85 to 90% accuracy. And then it can correctly identify what is good quality and what is bad quality. Even sometimes we can define multiple levels of quality tiers according to the needs of the client, and then they can work with that. So this is the power of the data. The API that we have developed is very simple. You just send us a source segment and a translation. And sometimes if you are dealing with multiple MT engines, you can send us up to 3 translations, and we will also give you a quality score of each of them. So you can pick which model is working better. But in the normal scenario, you will be sending one source segment and a translated content, and then we will score that. But we have multiple scoring schemes available. So there is a generic model that we have trained, which is TAUS QE, that can give you a quick way of telling whether the source and the translation is related or quality is good. Then we are also giving you a Comet QE score, which usually is more beneficial when there are multiple translations available, because that's more useful in ranking different MT engines. And what we are promoting is the custom QE score, so that you have your own custom model trained that fits your needs perfectly, and then you can use that score to automate your workflows and take decisions on translation quality. The API is very simple. There is a documentation available where you can go and see that. And this API is already integrated with memoQ. So the quality scores are now available in memoQ, which you can directly use there. So you don't really have to learn this. If you are a memoQ user, you can just directly use it in memoQ. On top of that, we are also offering a quality dashboard. So over the period of time, if you are using this service, we can accumulate all the statistics for you, which can actually show you whether the quality is improving over time for a model or for a language pair. And you can compare different language pairs where things are not working, for example, or you can compare different models. If one model is performing better than the other model and you want to use only that model, or you want to do a new training of a model if it's not working. So all of this is available in this dashboard, where you can take some business decisions on the basis of that. And this comes part of the API. So as I mentioned, memoQ is already integrated this solution in their workflow, but there are some other integrations that are already available. One is Blackbird, which is kind of a workflow automation tool. So you can actually use Blackbird with memoQ as well if you want to generate some very complex scenarios, because Blackbird also offers memoQ integration. Apart from that, if you want to try, there is a sandbox environment available. You can ask us to get access of that. We can provide you API key, and then you can directly use this sandbox in memoQ to try it out. For any other details, you can always contact TAUS. On our website, all the details are listed. The documentation is available. The pricing scheme is there, and everything is already live, so you can already try things out. And that's pretty much it. So back to you, Adam.
Thanks a lot, Amir. It was really impressive. And now let's see how this works live in memoQ. You're right.
Okay. Thank you. Can you just confirm that you can see the screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Looks fine. Okay, wonderful.
Sound is great too.
Sound is great too as well. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so I will show you how you can actually set up TAUS AIQE and how it works, and I'll give you some interesting examples. So the good thing is if you are using the latest version of memoQ, so which is currently 10.1, you will be able to see under the resource console all the shared resources that you would usually be able to use. And then under empty settings, you can create your own plugins or use your own empty plugins. And the good thing about AIQE and TAUS is that you can put these services on top of any configuration that you would wish. So for instance, if you're using DeepL has a setting that you can use that defines the formality, how it writes or how it suggests the translation. So it's a formal or an informal speech. So you can use that, and then you can combine either of the profiles with AIQE and TAUS on that. So there is no limit in terms how you can do the variation. So what you will see is when you set up a plugin, then you got this plugin specific settings. Here is where you would usually define the API key. They will give you access to the provider, and then you can, in this case, define the formality. And in terms of DeepL, you can also upload here the terminology. Specify how would you like to do handling, how would you like to handle the tags. And then you got some general empty settings, how it behaves. But then in addition, now you have here this additional third tab, which is AIQE. And here is where you would specify TAUS. It's pretty simple. So enter the address, get the key, validate, and you're good to go. And TAUS is really great because out of the box, it gives you some very solid generic models, let's say, that give you relevant data, and you can really test it out, and it looks good. It gives you a good impression, even if you don't do anything in the background. So it's a really nice starter tool set, and you can combine this as said with any empty plugin that you wish. Even if you want ChatGPT, elephant in the room, you can use it through Intento and then put TAUS on top of it, and then you will see how it is. So now let me show you how this looks in practice. I have here a project ready. I will not go into project creation, that for some other time. So what is just important, I would like to show you how the machine translations act or display if you enable or disable certain features, and I'll show you three things here. So for instance, if I'm not using AIQE, just the regular translation, so with the empty, I'm using in this case Amazon, the results will look in the following way. So you will see here the source text, and then the translation from empty will be displayed like so. So basically, it gives you a number and it doesn't tell you anything about the quality. It's just like it is as it is. You know, you see here in the bottom part the provider, and that's it. You take it or not, guessing more or less. Now, if we close this and go back to the settings and to the empty providers, we can then enable AIQE. And I'll show you here one interesting scenario I'll use for this exercise, Systrans plugin. And I will edit it basically AIQE is set to TAUS, and then you can close it. Nothing else was done here. So I just enter the API from Systran. And now we will go ahead and translate something, and I'll show you here two scenarios. Let's take a look into sentences 6 and 7. You see, they are very similar. We just have this abbreviation that is different. And we now have here, below this number, the estimation. It's saying we are 89% sure this translation fits your, let's say, benchmark. Okay, and then you can decide, do you want to take it or not? Okay, let's say we're fine, and we will put it in the translation memory, and then we will go into the next line. And now there are a couple of things happen. One is that memoQ automatically corrected this sentence, so it used TAUS, but that's actually not what I wanted to show. So in this case, memoQ used match patching to fix this. This one was pretty easy because it's an acronym, and we see this exclamation mark, which means that the quality was increased from 84 to 90, so from 84 to 94, so which is fine. But then if we check in this segment, number 3, we see we have here an 81% quality estimated translation. But what is interesting here is that the translations are very different. So we would expect that the machine translation suggestion would be similar to this one, but it's actually starting differently. So the word, it's more or less about the word order. And we, in some cases, may not want to have that. So for that purpose, I would like to show you one other really cool thing is and how you can actually train MT on the fly. And this is currently possible through Systran, and I'll combine this with TAUS, of course. So what you can do in the current Systran's plugin is that you can enable this feature, which you'll find under settings, send best fuzzy TM match to, in this case, Systran. Plus, again, combining this with still TAUS. And what this will do is it will send the best fuzzy match to Systran, and then it will adapt the empty match and send us back to us. And then we will also be able to see how then TAUS estimates it. So remember, we had originally an 81%, and now we will expect that as soon as we go here, send this, then we go to the next one. Now we have here an increase, so it's now 89. But what is most important is now that the structure of the sentence is actually similar to the one above, and it's what we want, because we have taken this fuzzy match, send it to Systran, and now we got this adapted translation, and also TAUS evaluated, okay, this is better. I mean, if we would do benchmarking, as colleagues from TAUS already suggested, and labeling, then this would probably be in the reality a higher match, because this one is actually fine. So you would expect a higher number. We are using here a generic model, but this already gives you some idea of how you can actually affect the quality of MT, how you can train MT, and how you could or how you can use this numbering. And you would also be able to see this meta information in the bottom part right here. And as said, you can combine this TAUS with any kind of a plugin that memoQ supports. And this is how it currently stands. So it's very useful for translators to define things on the fly. So to decide how you want to proceed with the translation. You want to take translation memory or an empty match, or combine them, it's even possible. And in the future, well, that's then leading us to our next section, is what is the future of this? And more on that will be then told by Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Jure, for this fascinating demo. So let's see what we are actually working on. today. So what Yura explained to us is more or less the first steps with the CAT tool, so in post-editing or in augmented editing. And further on, as we are going on with the integrating both TAUS, and as you could also see, this is also available for another service provider on this field, model front. We are working on to integrate a complex solution that goes beyond the resource management. It's built on the resource management framework. It extends further the PMT capabilities of memoQ. So we will extend the grid controls to work with quality estimate values, just like you do with the TM match rates. What we are working on today is the automated translation enhancement with AIQE, and I will show you some screenshots of the prototypes that are under development in these days. We are certainly using the AIQE values for project effort and efficiency measurement, and further on we want to also include it in the business analytics, the latest features or latest feature of memoQ that provides reporting across different projects. And what's also possible in the future, that since this technology is agnostic to the source of the translation, so it's agnostic to where the translation is coming from. Is it from A, B, or C machine translation engine, or it's done by a human translator? AIQE can possibly be used as an automation for the reviewing process as well. So let's see how it maps to the timelines. So right now we are working on the automations, automated translations, and later on we will go for the analysis and further extensions in the CAT tool. So how it looks like will look like hopefully in the closed releases of memoQ. In the automated translation, in the pre-translation, we are working with multiple engines. You can use multiple engines in the automated translations, and AIQE will decide row by row based on this, the quality score on which translation is the best, and that is going to be inserted. Then another step in the automation is the automated workflow skipping or adjusting. So memoQ is already capable of changing the row settings, the row statuses based on the quality of the TM inserted matches, as you know it very well. And now with the help of the AIQE values, we can now set a threshold for the empty inserted match, and then change the row status or lock it if you wish, based on the AIQE value of the vendor or the model that you work with. We are going to implement the effort and analysis into the effort analysis, the AIQE. So both the empty matches or the empty matches will be split into different categories. We defined 3 categories. You can decide which intervals shall memoQ use, and the analysis report will be then split into 2 sections. One is the translation memory inserted matches and the no matches, and then whatever is done through machine translation will be separated, and you can use the weights to calculate your leverage. So that was it, what we planned for today. And now let's go for the questions. I saw that there were already many questions. Many of them are already answered or being answered today. So I would go for those ones who are not answered yet. And we have 10 minutes for that, so we can hopefully cover a lot. So one is, if I'm post-editing content coming out of my custom engine, trained on client's terminology, how can I be confident that the quality score that is based on a generic engine? I guess you should have a custom model in this case, but maybe Amir can help us here if he has better idea on that.
I think a lot of the questions are on the same theme about data and how we are producing the data and whether they need the data or not. So as we mentioned already, that this is the area where TAUS has the expertise. So even if you don't have data, you can just describe the domain in which you're working or what is the translation scenario that you're working, and then we can fill the data gaps and we can produce the data ourselves. And if you're just coming up with positive examples where you just have a translation memory which has only the good examples, then we can complement that with negative examples ourselves. So that's the part that we can cover very easily. So for the generic models, currently we are also working on improving those models for some of the high resource languages. So as soon as we will publish those, then we will be sure that the quality will be high for a lot of the domains. But still, with generic model, there is always a possibility that it might not work with some of the scenarios or some of the languages. So if this is the case, you can always talk to us and we can work with you to come up with a solution and improve those. But for custom models, we have a proper guideline available. If once you will come to us, we can go through that and we can talk to you and we can see the scenario and we can work accordingly. So we have the whole team, a data team available who can basically take your scenario and work with you to generate the best model.
Great, many thanks. So there is another question. Does the next memoQ version has something like this integrated with TAUS? Yes, so memoQ 10.1 that has been released a couple of weeks ago has the integration as Jure just demoed, and hopefully in 10.3 later in early August we'll have some features along the automated translation as I showed you with the screenshots. The next question is, once I insert an empty suggestion with the quality estimated score, is any record kept of that score, same as with fuzzy match? Currently, it's not recorded, so it only appears in the memoQ on the translation results pane. We are working on to include it, to display it in the grid, just like as you see it with the fuzzy matches. But it's very important to highlight that we will always, and we always do already, differentiate these two values. So TM match rates and quality estimation serve the same end, but has completely different everything else. So it has no same resource, no same scale. The values over here cannot be compared to each other. You can certainly calculate it somehow, that what is the correlation between the two, but upfront there is no way to compare it. So these quality estimation values will go and going to be displayed on the translation grid. We will always use the differentiating brackets over there to make it sure that you see the difference. And as a first step, it will be also included into the XLIF. Certainly in longer run, we are also planning to have it recorded for being able to transfer it across the entire supply chain. So different memoQ installations traveling along with the project. So let's see the next question. Can the quality estimation number be used in memoQ somehow, for example, in translation? So example, only confirm empty segments above 95%. This is exactly what I showed you. So this is the feature that currently we are working on, and hopefully we'll be able to release it soon. How about earlier versions of memoQ? This feature will not be implemented in earlier versions. You have to update memoQ to make use of this new technology. Can you produce quality estimation report post-machine translation? Example, after your machine translated the whole document. That's an interesting use case. Currently, we are not planning it because we haven't considered it. I will take a note about this, and maybe if you reach out to me after the session, we can discuss how it is relevant and we can ideate about it. Another question, is it possible to visualize such percentage of the estimated quality from the PM perspective, analysis report, statistics report? If yes, the PM would be able to assign segments to the post editor in a more assertive approach. Yes, certainly. This is what I showed you also in the prototypes. We are going to develop to implement quality estimation into the analysis report, and to have it in the CAD tool to have the same controls as you all today have with the TM metrics. So this is something that we are currently working on. There is one question for you, Amir. So the quality estimation percentage is a simulation of the label, of a label that a human would give.
Yeah, I think you can perceive it like that, because what we are training is training the models on is human label data. So of course, this is a simulation, how human will judge the segments. Yes.
Thank you. Next question. You showed quality estimate per segment. Is it possible to run a report analysis of this data on the entire file project? Yes, this is something that we are working on. So quality estimation will be included in the analysis report. Then the next question, are there any security privacy concerns? Is the content that is being estimated being used to also train the model? Is there an opt-out if this is the case?
So I can answer this one. So
yeah,
this is not the case. So TAUS is receiving the segments just to score the quality. And as soon as we score the quality, we discard all the content. So we are not saving anything, and everything is based on the proper protocols and proper encryption methods. So there is no possibility of any security lapses.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, AIQE seems to operate on empty pre-translated content, and TAUS integration demo was using empty proposal, not inserted into target, but live generated when opening the segment. Can AIQE work in the on-the-fly model as well? So I think if I get the question right, yes, what we demoed today is the on-the-fly. So when translator is working in an augmented translation environment in the CAD tool, but certainly we want to implement it, this technology into the pre-translation, into the automated translation. I hope I answered your question, Mikhail. If not, please reach out to me after the session. And the time is up. We still have a couple of questions over here. thanks a lot for your attending and all your questions. We will answer all these questions in writing after the session. It was great to have you here. Many thanks, and keep updated with the upcoming releases. Thank you. Goodbye.